Hi, I'm Jeff from New York. Please like and subscribe.
Episode 75, The Japanese Restaurant. Jessa and the others soon arrived at the Japanese restaurant in Wanda Plaza. The restaurant was filled with booths and small private rooms.
Hello, may I ask which booth the couple had arrived about an hour ago were in? The lady is beautiful like me, wearing an orange skirt, and the man's a loser. Which room are they had now?
Jessa asked. The hostess remembered Diane and Jeff. However, when she saw that Jessa had so many people with her, she didn't dare to casually reveal her customers' information.
There aren't many rooms here, so let's search for them one by one,
Jessa said to the others. They started searching each room in the restaurant. Meanwhile, in a certain booth, Diane took a small brown bottle out of her pocket and poured some powder into Jeff's glass while he was in the bathroom. She started quickly with her fingers. This was something she had specially bought off the internet. She had heard that drinking this kind of thing could make people lose their senses. Diane had been trying to figure out how to quickly seduce Jeff. In the end, she chose to be direct with him. It was hard for Jeff to not admit that he thought she was beautiful. Before coming here, she had already thought of all the details. They were sitting at a table in a small room that felt very private, the ideal spot for a guy to have some private time with a girl. She wanted to find a chance to turn off his phone, as well as her phone, to prevent Jessa from calling and messing things up. She also wanted to find an opportunity to convince Jeff to drink from his glass. After Jeff became infatuated with her, perhaps she wouldn't even need to do anything. Jeff might charge toward her like a raging bull. As Diane fantasized, Jeff opened the door and walked in. She quickly sat up straight.
Jeff, thank you for coming out to eat with me. Let me toast you.
Diane held the glass of wine and put it close to her mouth. Her gaze was locked on him as she watched him drink the wine. Excited smile gradually appeared in her eyes. At the same time, his body gradually started to react, and his mind became a little dazed. Jeff put down his chopsticks and forcefully opened his eyes, but his mind was getting more and more confused. He looked at Diane. Her image was trembling slightly, and he felt that her smile was especially mesmerizing. Diane's eyes were getting brighter and brighter. She bit her lips with her white teeth and put on a charming look. She kept saying in her heart,
Quick, throw me down, quick.
He didn't make a move for a long time, so she couldn't wait any longer.
Jeff, my shoulder is hurting a little. Can you massage it for me?
Before he could figure out what was going on, she had already wiggled over next to him. She leaned on his side, faced him, and pressed his hand onto her shoulder. Jeff wanted to pull his hand away, but her grip was too tight for him.
Jeff, just help me press it. My shoulder hurts a little.
She whispered into his ear.
Manager Young, please let go.
Jeff's mind was a mess, and he tried his best not to look at her pretty face. But the scent of her perfume filled his nose, and his hand was still on her fleshy shoulder. He could feel her warm body and her breath. Jeff used all his strength to push her away. He gently touched his forehead and tried to wake himself up, but his mind couldn't help but feel the delicateness of her hands.
Your willpower is quite strong,
she thought. However, Diane couldn't give up such a good opportunity that day.
Jeff, today you're mine, all mine,
she thought. Diane stood up. She looked at Jeff, who had slid out of his chair and onto the ground by now, and started to take off her dress.
I have planned for today for such a long time. No matter how, I want you to kneel under my skirt,
she thought. The buttons on her top had already been undone, and one side of her shoulder strap had fallen. The other strap slowly followed off her shoulder. Diane's snowy shoulders were completely exposed. Her skin seemed very transparent, and her collarbone was very defined. With a slight movement, her muscles moved rhythmically, showing off her beauty. Her orange skirt hung half off her body. In her half-naked state, she was even more captivating. Jeff watched her slowly remove her clothing. He tried his best to restrain himself, but he still couldn't help but want to see more. Seeing his conflicted expressions and actions, Diane felt that she was about to succeed. She took off her high heels, revealing her white feet. She took off her skirt and tossed it at Jeff. Her skirt carried her fragrance and felt warm. Jeff grabbed it and looked at it. In that instance, he almost couldn't control himself. Diane was wearing a black corset, which formed a strong contrast with her snow-white skin. Her body was bursting with energy, and she was not one bit inferior to a model. Diane knelt in front of him. Her snow-white skin glowed as she leaned over his body, and he trembled slightly. He clenched his fist tightly, as if he couldn't help but want to hug her. But he still had some willpower left.
Jeff, you're so handsome.
Diane whispered as she pressed his head into her chest. She wanted to arouse his wildness so that he could fly away with her into the booth. Jeff fell into a soft spot. She had her arms around his neck. It was hard for him to breathe. As soon as he breathed, a rich fragrance strongly stimulated his nerves. Jeff was so restrained that the veins on his forehead were popping out. He clenched his teeth and let out a soft sound.
Jeff, you can't resist anymore. Don't hold yourself back anymore.
She thought. Diane adjusted her posture, pressing his face more fully into her chest. She could already feel that he was getting more and more agitated. Her dream was about to come true.
Ah!
Jeff roared with his eyes closed. His arms were tightly holding her delicate body.
Jeff, you finally can't take it anymore.
She thought. Bang! The door to the room swung open toward a scene of Jeff about to take advantage of Diane in a room filled with Japanese decor. Jessa, James, Gerald and a few other basketball players and cheerleaders all rushed in. Seeing the scene in front of them, everyone's jaws dropped. Diane, who was only wearing her underwear, was sitting facing Jeff and hugging his head tightly in front of her chest. Jeff was also hugging Diane tightly. It was an explosive situation. When Jeff saw Jessa and the others rushing in, his feverish head instantly calmed down. The effects of the drink were wearing off. An image of Lelaine appeared in his mind. He had done such a shameless act with another girl behind Lelaine's back. He felt extremely ashamed and wanted to push Diane away. Diane was extremely angry at the group of people who rushed in. In another half an hour, she would have caught Jeff. These people were causing trouble for her, but she was not willing to give up on such a good opportunity so easily.
Get out!
Diane roared at Jessa and the others before hugging Jeff tightly once more. Once she lost this chance, it would be much more difficult for her to get close to him again.
Jeff, don't worry about them. Let's continue.
Diane looked at his lips and kissed him without any hesitation. She wrapped one hand around his neck while the other hand hurriedly flipped up his sleeve, intending to take off his clothes. Jeff and Diane couldn't hold themselves back even in front of so many people. The other men were envious of Jeff and wanted to exchange places with him and be with such a beautiful woman with such a perfect figure. James roared and smashed the big bouquet of roses onto the ground.
Damn you! You don't want to live anymore!
He became so angry it was like a volcano erupting. James knocked away a few guys and pulled Diane off Jeff's body. He angrily hit Jeff's face with a heavy slap. The slap caused him to bleed from the corner of his mouth, but it also cleared his mind. The furious James was about to slap him again, but went for a heavy blow instead.
Are you sick?
Diane slapped James and scolded him angrily.
What's your status? Jeff is someone you think you can fight against?
Diane, we're a couple. James was both wronged and confused. He took out the diamond ring and said, I'm here to propose to you. Diane, look at this diamond ring I bought for you.
Who cares about your diamond ring? We have no relationship. I want you to disappear from my sight.
Diane was not moved at all. One diamond ring was nothing to her. She could have countless diamond rings if she married Jeff.
Jeff, are you all right?
Diane walked over to his side and asked out of concern. Jeff didn't say anything. His mind was very clear now. He just wanted to see Lelaine right away. Only by seeing her would his guilt subside. He pushed Diane away, pushed past Jessa and the other onlookers, and quickly walked out of the restaurant.
I'm sorry,
muttered Jeff in confusion. Thank you. Super thanks purchase. At DC The Truth 85. August 2023. Top super thanks purchasers. Thank you so much.